Hey class, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your upcoming midterm exams just to get all that information in one place. So we're going to talk really quickly about proctoring and the proctoring situation, and then we are going to talk a little bit about what the content of your exam is going to be and how you can study for it effectively. So first off, proctoring information. Hopefully you came across this last week, and so this is going to be me repeating information you've already come across. For that reason, I'm going to run through it a little quick. Your proctoring information is available under both last week's information and this week's. You are required to take both your midterm and final in a proctored environment. That means that you need to be observed and you in some way or fashion. So for students within the state of Louisiana or near a northwestern state campus or on a military base, you have the option of being proctored in person by going to one of those situations. And again, the details for all of the approved proctors are available through Moodle. It says proctoring information. Let me know if you have any questions about that. For those of you more flung or who would prefer to take their exam at home, there's an option for that called Proctor U. You do have to schedule in both cases the exam slot that you'd like to take it in ahead of time. So plan now for when you'd like to take your test next week. Do check the syllabus for the specific dates regarding that, okay? So make sure, if you haven't already done so, that you get your proctoring done immediately, that you get your proctoring set up so that you can take your final exam. You cannot take your final exam outside of a proctored environment. So please make sure you're on top of that. Thank you very much to all of you who have already done so. So let's talk a little bit about the content of your final exam. What can you expect? So the first section is 10 multiple choice questions based on a poem you haven't seen. The questions deal with content and also with some terminology. Specifically, if you've ever seen me mention that something is in the part of the test I don't control, this is what I was talking about. What I mean is that there are a couple of questions on here that are a little bit outside of the realm of what I think we should ask students to know consistently. Specifically, the terms synecdoche and metonymy, which you learned last week. You will see them on your final exam, but I don't want you to worry too much about the meaning of those. They are only one multiple choice question there, and they're probably the wrong answer. So again, 10 multiple choice questions there. Another thing I would point out, just sort of on that note, unrelatedly, almost all poems use rhythm and rhyme in some way, form, or fashion. So returning, 10 questions multiple choice. Then you are going to get a list of terms, and I'm going to ask you to complete many of them. Again, all of the terms that I can ask you about are terms that I told you in a video just like this one, said you need to memorize this term. That term can be on your test. So by going back to all of those videos and getting all of those terms, you have an effective study guide in front of you. So there will be about 10 of those. Those are going to be roughly worth about twice what the multiple choice section is. Then there are going to be 2 essay questions. Each of the essay questions is going to be based on a poem. Again, a poem you haven't read before. The purpose being to demonstrate in long form writing what you can tell me about poetry. I'm looking for you to show me a couple of skills. One is analysis. Can you break down what a poem means? Can you tell me the meaning of a poem? 2, use and mastery of terms and jargon. So can you use the terms that I'm asking you to use in your essays, first off, foremost? Are you fluent in the language of poetry? And 2, if I said, how does this major idea work in this poem, I expect you to be able to write several paragraphs about how that might work. In other words, the writing assignments that you've undertaken for me throughout the course of this term up to this point are excellent practice for your upcoming essays. And if you would like to engage in some more exam practice, you can find poems we have not read from your book and try out the following. A, can you analyze it on the spot? Can you write me a short essay explaining what it means, why you think that focuses on the terminology we've discussed in class? B, given a given term, and pick one of the bigger ones off of our list, something you see all the time. How does that work in this poem, and how does this poem exemplify the way that this term operates in poetry? So those are the kind of things you can expect. On your essays, I'm not going to be grading necessarily harshly on grammar, spelling, and punctuation. I am going to be grading based on clarity of thought, use of the terms from class, and accuracy and depth of thought. It is a good idea. You are allowed to quote from the poems in the essays that you write on the exam, and in fact, I would recommend it. You do not, however, need to worry about citing carefully, okay? That's not a concern. This should be controlled by your proctor, but just so we're clear and you heard me say it, you're not allowed to use any materials whatsoever on your exam. It's completely closed book, closed note, closed everything. The only thing you are allowed to have open is that file. So, that's my 6-minute spiel on your exam, but I want to make sure you guys know if you have any questions or concerns, talk to me, okay? That's what I'm here for. Thank you very much for your time and attention.